Hello, Miss Steele here. So we are talking about art movements this week, and we're going to look at Cubism, which is taking a simple design or even a more complicated design and kind of breaking it up into a bunch of geometric shapes. So for this project, we're going to want a few things. A white piece of paper. Mine is squared off, which I have shown you before how you can make your paper squared off. You want a pencil and an eraser. You want a ruler. And then you want some stuff to color in with. You're definitely going to want markers and colored pencils. But I as well have some crowns. So I'm going to be using all three to color this in just to give it different colors and textures. So our first step is going to be drawing a large heart in the center of our paper. So in the middle of our paper, we want to draw a heart. I actually have a heart that I cut out of cardboard already, and I'm going to use this to trace around. So you want your heart to be about the size of mine. So pretty large, like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this kind of abstracted. We're going to add 5 to 6 lines going all the way through your paper. So you could do these even, but I like to just throw them in kind of random. So I'm going through my heart and through the outside area too. So there's 2, 3, 4, and now I need one more for my 5th. Trying to get this lined up. 5. So now I have these 5 lines going through my paper in all different areas. And what I want to do is I'm going to color some of these in just whole with color. I'm going to use my colored pencils to do some value blends. And I also want to add some patterns into some. So I have these pattern examples. You should have some pattern examples in the course online if you're looking at that. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take about half of these and add different patterns inside them. So I like to do this in pencil first just so I can see how it will look. And your patterns could be just line designs. They could be patterns that are shapes. So I'll leave that kind of up to you based on what patterns you might want to add. So I'm going to go through and add in some patterns in some of these, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so I have patterns in about half of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my markers, and I am going to outline all of these patterns, and then I'm either going to use colored pencils or crowns behind it to color in behind it. So I'll show you that. So let's say this is the first one. I mean, we don't have to say it's the first one that I'm doing because it's the first one I started with, and now it's the one that I am going over right now. So I'd go like that. And then if I had any pencil lines hanging out, I would erase those pencil lines. And then I want to go in behind. I like to use colors kind of similar to what I put for my pattern. So if I did purple, I like to make it purple in behind right here. So I'm going to get this colored in with the purple. And I'm going to do the same thing for all of these other pattern areas, filling in the color in behind using crowns or colored pencils, just because it's hard to see marker on top of marker sometimes. So I'm going to try to color in behind the markers with crowns or colored pencils, and then that will leave the rest of these sections that I can use my colored pencils to make color blends, or I could just color them in fully. So I'm going to work on these patterns, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, so I have half of it filled in with my different patterns, and then behind my patterns I added in some colors using colored pencils and crowns. Now I'm going to grab my colored pencils because our last step is working on these areas areas where we didn't add patterns. So you have a few options. You want to color in some like just completely, but some of them you want to add a fade to. So for this you want to pick So for this, you want to pick 1 or 2 colors. If you want to fade 2 colors together, you can do that. Or you can use a single color for a fade. And I'm going to show you how to do both. So I'm going to grab this orange, and I'm going to show you using this orange how you can do a single color fade. So it'll go from the color that you choose, and then it'll fade into white. We talked about value previously. So that kind of dabbles into that a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press harder on one side. And then as I start coloring towards the other side, I'm slowly going to start pressing lighter. So I'm pressing harder, and then as I get to the other side, I'm slowly starting to press lighter. Until I get almost to the outer edge, and I'm like barely pressing down. So that is how you can do a single color fade, pressing harder to one side and then slowly pressing lighter and lighter as you work your way out. Another thing you can do is combine 2 colors together through a fade. So for this one, I'm going to start with pink on this side, and whenever I get to about the halfway point is whenever I want to make for sure I'm like coloring super light. So holding farther back on your colored pencil can definitely help this. And then as I work my way to the other side, I'm starting to press lighter and lighter, like that. So I pressed harder on the edge, and then I slowly started fading it out, pressing lighter and lighter as I got towards the middle. So I can go back and I can layer on some more like that. Sorry, I'm making my document camera shake on its little stand. Just like that. So you can see it goes from darker to lighter. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'm going to use my second color. So for this one, I have this blue, and I'm going to follow those same steps of pressing harder. And then as I work my way to the pink, I'm going to start pressing lighter and lighter. And then as I get to the pink, I'm going to press lighter and lighter. And then I'm going to color on top of the pink just a little bit so I can start to work them together like that. And that's how you can make a 2-color fade. So it's like the same with what we did with the orange, except on the other side, you're bringing in a second color to fade with it. And colored pencils are really, really great for layering. So what I could always do too is I could go back, and if I feel like I need more pink on this side, I can fade that into the blue as well and go over that other blue. So I am going to add probably 2 or 3 more fades, and then I'm going to finish with just coloring in some of the sections in completely with just color. So there's all of these different things to look at, and I'm trying to stay within the lines, so by the end of it you can still see that shape of a heart. So I'm going to add in some fades, and then we'll check in, and then we'll finish by coloring in some of the sections. Alright, so I added in some color fades on here. So now our last step is completely leaving some just like completely colored in. So you could use crowns or you could use markers for this. That's kind of up to you. I like to use a little bit of both just because I like the textural differences between the ink versus the wax that are in crowns. And I want to make mine like super colorful, so that opens it up with like having more color options. So I'm going to get these last few sections colored in, and then we will be completely finished with our Cubist heart. Alright, so I filled in those last few sections, some using crowns, some using markers, and that is it, my friends. That is our Cubist heart using patterns and value and shapes and lines and geometric shapes. all of those fun stuff. I cannot wait to see how yours come out, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Bye.